Okay, I hope my screen is visible now,
Yes.
right? Okay. So once again, welcome everybody. Today we are going to speak about tabular model, how to improve the tabular model by combining queries. Welcome once again. And today's event roughly will last for 1 hour with Q&A session. And our speaker is Ana María Bisbé York. Anna, I hope this is the good, correct pronunciation, is Microsoft Data Platform MVP. Her technology area is Power BI. I hope in her turn she will give the necessary information about herself. And also, I would like to give a little bit info about our next speakers. Our next speaker is Olga Svidenko, who is going to talk about Amazon Web Services. And after Olga, at the end of May, I will myself will be delivering speech. It will be related to Power BI, real case. These is the information about our upcoming speakers. A little bit Meetup rules. As soon as Meetup ends, I will be sending the necessary info related to our Meetup with recording link for those who didn't have an opportunity to watch this say Meetup via YouTube. And we have Q&A session. You can type your question in the chat. Our speaker will try to do her best to answer to the questions. And once again, it's recording and subject to sharing with others. These are the Meetup rules. I just wanted to let you know. Regarding our session schedule, for the first minute is for introduction that I'm doing right now. And roughly 35-40 minutes for our presentation, demonstration, and 10 or 15 minutes for our training session. So stay connected. You can write your ideas. Of course, if you would like also to deliver speech, you can write me at zarbali@excelworld.org, or you can reach me via one of my Meetup groups. So here I would like to end my introduction part, and I would like to deliver a speech to our lovely speaker, Anna. Anna, stage is yours. You can share your screen and go on. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Good afternoon, good night, everyone. Good morning, depending on the place you are. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming to the Meetup today. Thank you. I want to thank the team for having me and the community leaders for their support. Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here today to discuss about cleaning and reshaping data with Power Query. This is one of the best parts of designing and delivering analytical reports with Power BI. It's my pleasure to share with you some techniques to improve the tabular model by combining queries. I'm Ana María Bisbé, data analyst, BA trainer, and consultant. I'm independent, freelance, and Microsoft partner in Power BI. Leading learning trainer in Spanish with 2 courses that have been translated into English. I'm data platform MVP, and I've written 2 books about Power BI and Power Query topics with the Anaya Multimedia publisher. I've won the Global Award Techfluencer Spain 2022. This award is for women that build. It's dedicated to women in technology. It's an initiative to increase women's visibility in the technological world. I've called it the Power Platform Madrid Meetup our Meetup for the last 5 years. We've celebrated a monthly online meeting like this and at least 2 in-person events a year. The Global Power Platform Bootcamp, Madrid, in February, and the Power Platform Madrid Summer event in May or June, depending on the year. Please do not hesitate on contact with me on social network. I'll be very pleased. Okay, that's enough about me. This session we look at the importance of query combining. We will answer the question, when is not a query combination a step that merges two queries? We will answer this question. And we will demonstrate several scenarios in which combining queries could be the perfect solution for the optimal tabular models. We will be combining queries to identify entities and attributes, to take care of the design of the fact table, and to solve data quality issues. Let's talk about the importance of query combining. Data comes from different sources. The structure of the data could be the same, could be different. The most important task is to reshape the data, specifically for the tabular model. The data quality and business requirements will create the necessity for the query combination. In Power Query, there are situations where the step that considers more than one query is not a combination of them. For example, duplicate queries. When we duplicate queries, will be not relationship or dependency between the original, for example, products duplicate, not relationship or dependencies between the original and the duplicated queries. We are in a copy and paste scenarios. And if we look at the query settings for both queries, we realize that here we have the same steps. This action is not a combination of queries. Another example is references. There will be a dependency between the original query and the referenced query. And looking at the query settings for both queries, we realize that the reference query has just one applied step, source, that points to the original query. This action is not a combination of queries, but we have a dependency between the two. And also we have the samples about the Cartesian product between the two not related queries. In this case, we have two queries. They are unrelated, and they are not columns for combining them. Priorities, 1, 2, 3, colors, red, blue, yellow. There's not relationship between them. Okay, the solution here will be to create an additional custom column. If we create an additional custom column for the colors query, we can just type priority, and then we have a column with all the values for each row. So we have a table in each row, and each table has all the values. If we expand the values, we have all the combination. That's a Cartesian product. Okay, let's see all of these cases in a demo. Okay, let's see. For example, we have products here, and we have two options, duplicate and reference. Okay? If we duplicate, there's not relationship, there's copy and paste. But if we reference, there is different situation. So let's see. The duplicated one remains all the steps, and the new reference has just one step, and this step points to the primary query. If we look at the query dependency, we have an option here in a view tab. We have query dependencies, and if we look at the query dependencies, there's a lot of, okay, there's a lot we can, okay, I will look at the product. Here we have, this is, sorry, this is the referenced one that points to the original. And there's, here is our product too. There's not relationship between the two. There's no dependency. There's nothing. But it's not about the merge or append. No, it's just obtaining one query from the other. And for example, here we have the Cartesian product. I will show you because it's really, really easy to combine these two queries. For example, here I have the colors, add columns, add custom columns. And here we will just type the name of the other column or of the other query. In this case, for example, we are able to find, because of the intelligence, priority. That's it, nothing more. Just doing this, we will obtain the new column with a table with all the values here. Okay, I will show you the table with all the values of the priority query for each column. The last step here will be expand, load more if it's necessary, and that's it. All the colors and all the priority values. This is not, again, this is not a merge operation itself, but it's kind of it because we obtain all the values from the one query to the other. Okay, let's continue. So the first reason for combining queries is to identify the model entities and attributes. Let's see several cases. For example, case one, we have several sources with the same structure. In this case, we have 3 months, January, February, and March, and we do not need 3 entities because the information is the same, and we need just one entity that combines all of this information. The solution here, if I need all of 3 queries, January, February, and March, is to append because they represent the same entity. For example, we have sales. Okay, so for the tabular model is important. It's really important to maintain just the entities that we need. In this case, just one entity from these 3 queries. Other case, for example, we have our data. We have different sources that has different columns that describe the same entity. For example, the first file, customer A, contains several columns about the customer: name, last name, birthday, marital status, whatever. And the second file, customer B, contains other columns that should be in the same at unique customer entity. So we have information from customer here, we have information from customer there. So we need to join all of this information in just one customer entity. If we maintain these two tables in our model, the relationship will be one-to-one, and this is not a good approach for our model. So the solution for saving our tabular model here is to merge queries. We need just one final query because all the columns belong to the same customer entity. So we need all the columns from customer A and all the columns from customer B. That's the solution, and there's a good modeling. For example, if we have snowflake schema, we need to go into the star schema as much as possible, of course. In this case, we have some attributes in a different table. There's not the same case. Before, we have two tables with contains the same key for the customer and different columns. In this case, we have one table for customer, geography key that points to the other table, the geography table, with city and country. If I realize that city and countries are columns that will be used in my model just for describing the entity customer, so they will be used as attributes for the customer table, they should be there in this table. So the best way to save the tabular model is to merge queries. It's like VLookUp operation. We will join columns in just one query. That means the best option is a star schema for tabular model. And in this case, this is like best practice option, because the columns city and countries will be used just for describing customer. Okay, let's see the demo for these cases. Okay. Okay, let's look at the Excel workbook that contains 3 cells for 3 months. Here I have open. If I need to work with all of these months separately, so I need to select them, do the work, do the cleansing or whatever, and then to combine. Let's see the first approach. I have the 3, January, February, March. Here I have nothing to do, so the next step could be append queries, because I need to join the lines. Okay, so append queries as new, 3 or more, select January, February, and I will put March. And that's it. Now I have all the information together and the problem is solved. But if I do not need, in this case, for example, all cells, okay? If I do not need to do cleansing or whatever with all of these queries, it's not necessary to create queries and then to join. We have another approach. I will reuse this source, monthly sales, but instead of select all of this month, I could right-click this element and select transform data. Transform data will connect the source, the Excel file, but not to navigate into the file. So transform data, now we have just the connection, just the source step. This is the only column that we need. So that means we could remove other columns because here we have information for January, for February, and for March. But we are looking at our data and we can see column 1, column 2, column 3. It is because in my Excel file, I'm not using tables. I'm using just the information in each page of my Excel file. This is important because we have an option here in the source data. If we open, I want to show you that here we have a parameter. If we select the second parameter as true, that means that Power Query will select the header of our table even when we have not real tables in our Excel file. Okay, so let's change. I will change in this case, and just if I change the second parameter and I said this value will be true, that means now Power Query recognize the values. And I said, okay, the header will be date, ID product, and quantity. It's easy. And now we just need to expand the data, and now we have all the columns. Let's detect the data type. That means if we have the information of April, of May, of June, I have nothing to do because it will connect to the source, that means to the Excel file, then to remove other columns, and I will have, instead of 3 rows, 4 rows, 5 rows, whatever. It's a good solution for our case. Expand the data. If I have 2 months, it's okay. If I have 10 months, it's okay too. Okay, the other case, I have customer A and customer B. Okay, let's see this case, home, merge queries as new or not. It's not the case, it's customer A and customer B. I have the information. This is the just one column that match between the two tables, and that's okay. All the information is good, and that's it. I will maintain just one entity for my data. Customer key is not necessary, and for example, geography key, incomes, occupation, and whatever. Okay, so now I have all the information in just one table. I will upload to my model just one entity for the customer information. This will be the same from snowflake schema to the star schema. I have customers, merge queries, and geography list, geography here, and that's it. Okay, expand. Geography is not necessary, country and cities, and that's all. I have now, for my model, country and city as the same as education or occupation or the rest of the attributes that allows me to describe my entity customer. Okay, let's see another case. Another reason for combining queries is to take care of the design of the fact table. There is a wide, in this case, for example, wide poor design fact table, because you can see we have product and country, two text columns in our fact table. This is not good. Not good. And we have also a dimension table without the index column. There's no problem. But we have the same columns, product or country. If we have not the dimension, we can obtain the dimension from the fact table too, because we can reference the table, okay? So the best way to save our tabular model and take care of the fact table will be to remove duplicates. By first, all the time, we remove duplicates in the dimension table and add an index column to the dimension table. So that means I will remove duplicates and then to create in one column a unique value for each row. And this is very, very important because we need the one endpoint for our dimension. Okay, so the next step will be merge queries, but in this case, we will use more than one columns. And we need to take care about the orders. If I take by first the column product in this query, I need to select also the product columns for this query. So the first column control, the second column control, the third column, all the columns that I need will be the same order for both queries. And then cleansing. Cleansing, we need to do some cleansing at the end for reading off the text columns. And now we have date, quantity, and index column. For sure, the index column in the fact table could be a repeated value. It's not difficult here. Okay. So another very interesting case is for combining query is to improve the dimension quality. For example, here we have a weak dimension, just ID product and product. It's not a good dimension. I have no attributes. So this dimension needs more attributes. And we have a fact table. Probably the information that it's contained in the fact table could help us to solve the problem. And we have the business requirements to obtain product type, level of sales, and volume. And this information we can obtain from the fact table. The approach is different in this case. The solution for this case is to merge queries and then to aggregate. So that means after the merge, after the merge queries, the needed action will be aggregate and not expand. So will be aggregate instead of expand columns. We must select the aggregation function that we need, in this case, for the required result. And this is the result that we obtain. Minimum of date, count, not blank, of ID product, and sum of quantity. Of course, we have 3 columns. These are temporary, but these columns are valuable for our project. They are temporary. So the next step will be to add 3 conditional columns. We need to check the condition for each temporary column. For example, if I look at the minimum of date, I could select, okay, if minimum of date equals null, that means never sold. If minimum of date is before or equal, whenever, it could be an historic product or a recent product. So I have the solution for a new attribute that calls product type using this approach. And this way, the last step will be cleansing and solving. And this way we could have ID product and product that we had before, and product type, level of sales, and volume of sales. All of this information will be in our product dimension and will be very useful for our customer or boss or whatever. So, and these are very good columns because if we have a lot of values, even in this case, we will have 3 values as the result for each of these 3 columns. Because when we describe the condition, just 3 possible solutions, just for 3 possible answers for this condition. So, okay, and also the final sample will be to solve data quality requirements because of the inconsistency of the data. We have 2 tables, okay? We have 2 tables with some inconsistent data. For example, here we have 2 projects, 04 and 05 of 2021, that they have no information in the sales table. We have 2 projects in our catalog, and they have no fact information in our sales table. Well, no problem. But we have other case here. The 08-2021 project has not relationship between the our project with our project table. So there's some inconsistency here. We could have a null values in our relationship between the tables. It's not good. So the solution here will be to merge queries using anti-left join or anti-right, depending on your preference. Because we will obtain all of this information about the rows that are not matching in both tables. In this case, we will have, for example, if I'm using merge with anti-left join, we will obtain 04 and 05 from 2021, all the information for the project itself, but we will have no information about the cells because we have no information. So all the lines, all the rows, just will obtain the null values. Or we could obtain the table with the columns from cell table and the rows with empty values for the catalog. That is the case for 2021. Okay, let's see the demo for these cases. Okay. Here we have our product, and here we have the cell of the product. In this case, we need, for example, we need to combine merge queries to sales products here. ID product. Okay, you can see here the selection match 3 of 4 because we have one product that never sold. Okay, that's it. And now it's the time for aggregated. This is the point. We need to aggregate. Instead of count of date, we will select minimum. Instead of sum of ID product, for example, count non-blank, and sum of quantity, it's okay. And now we have all of these 3 columns. These columns are not good, but they are temporary columns, and they are columns that we will read off before then upload the data to our model. And then the next step, why I have just 2, I will sum of quantity. Okay, now I have 3. And then the next step will be add the conditional column. I need just select conditional column. Okay, this is conditional columns that we will have, for example, product type, and I will look at the minimum of date, and if it is null, never sold. Okay, never sold. If, for example, if minimum of date it's before or equal to 2 of March of 2022, it's historical and recent. And it will be the same for the 3 elements, and then we are able to read off. Here I have the solution. Here I have the solution, and we could see here the three conditional columns created, okay, for each level of cells, not cells, regular cells or good cells, and also the condition for volume of cells, 0, medium, or large. And at the end, we can remove the columns, and now we will have a very good dimension for products with these 3, and these 3 columns will be really good because I told you that the distribution of these columns will be very good, even if we have a lot of rows in our data. Probably there will be a lot of different values in our temporary columns, but for the model at the end, we will have these kind of columns that are really good for the model. Okay, let's see the other case. In this case, we have the catalog and products and countries, and here we have products and countries in our fact table. Okay, let's see. The first action here is to select both or three or whatever columns, and then to remove duplicates, remove rows, and remove duplicates. Now we will have just one value that combines product and countries. And now add columns, index column from 0, from 1, it's the same. And this, we will have a unique value for this. We need the same value for the distinct, unique, and rows. Okay? And catalog cells, and then the transformation here will be merge queries. I could, yes, merge queries. And now I will catalog and catalog. Okay, okay, catalog. But here is the point that we need to select more than one columns. For example, product, control, country. So 1 and 2. And here the same, product, control, and the second. So control key, it's really, really important here. Now we have a combination between the two queries using more than one column. That means we do not need to create a special combined column because the merge is able to do by itself. So, okay. And now we have a table with all the values that we need. Let's expand, not aggregate, expand. And the only column that we need is the index for the fact table. Now we have the index, and then we need to rid of these columns, product and country, and now we have a beautiful fact table with just numeric columns. Okay, and this is our data quality situation. So the solution here will be merge queries. In this case, I will merge query. I will select merge queries as new project, and then project cells, and we will select the ID project for each, and the solution. It's important to look at the joint key, because depending on the situation, we will select one or another. In this case, left anti, that will obtain the rows that are only in the first table. I have that. That means the selection excludes 8 of 10 rows because there's 8 rows that match between the two tables. Yeah, we have just 2, 04 and 05, 2 elements that are not matching, and this is the result. And you can look at the tables, and of course the values will be null. Okay, so as a conclusion, I could say that combining queries could be the perfect solution for the optimal tabular model. We could identify entities and attributes, respect the star model design, protect the fact tables model, and do data quality task. And also we could combine files because we can combine the data if we have several files with the same columns structure, or if we have some skills to apply techniques for cleansing and combining files. Do not forget about that Power Query provides a connector to a folder and then combines the content of a file. So combined files is also a very, very good option. I want to let you some resources. LinkedIn Learning in English. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of courses from LinkedIn Learning. And I have 2 courses translated by using artificial intelligence. There's translated to English. Please know that this is an experiment. So it's interesting to us, to the trainers, it's interesting to the Spanish content team to know if this content is interesting for you, is useful for you. So if you have the option to look at these courses, it's important for us because this is like an experiment. The exercises are in Spanish, the content are in Spanish. If you need any help, please do not hesitate to contact me because it's, for me, it's really interesting to know if this is useful. This is not my translation, it's not my English, it's the artificial intelligence English. My content is recorded using my voices and my samples, but in Spanish. And also, we have a lot of books. We have a lot of books in English that covers topics from Power Query. This is the last one, the definite guide of Power Query, and there's a lot of books. I wrote a book in Spanish, but there's a lot of book. That's it. Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure. I'm here for answer your question or for whatever that you need.
Thank you very much, Ana Maria. I would like to add that you just demonstrated and gave information about the books related to Power Query. By the way, I have translated Master Your Data in excellent Power Query, in Power Query, Power BI. So this is the name of book. Authors are Miguel Escobar and also Kem Pals. I have translated this book into Azerbaijan, so Azerbaijani members of our WeLookUp group can get this book from our website, mydatasummit.org. And there are 4 questions. Actually, I have I have written these questions in the chat. If you don't mind, please be so kind as to have a look. 4 questions.
Okay. I have questions here. Okay. Question 1. What data quality task can be performed using Power Query to improve the overall model quality? It's so important to look at the model, to look at the data quality. I I can recommend you to look all the time to the profiles. Because if you look at the columns distribution, you can realize the problems. If you have the problems with your data is not clean, data is duplicated, data has a lot of null values, you have the option of improving your data. So in my case, the data is not mine. The data is for my customers. It's onto my yes, customer. In my case, is customer, but in your case, could be your boss data or your partner data in your company. And probably, or it's possible that you have not the total idea or the total knowledge about your data, about the data that you need to work on. In my case, the data is never mine. So it's important to look at column distribution and column profile, because if you look at the data, for example, ID product is a good product, product is a good product because we have 4 values, 4 distinct values, and here we have the distribution of the values in our data. This is, for example, look at the customer. As you can see, for example, here, the birthday, it's the bad column for our model because we have 955 distinct values. There's a lot of distinct values and there's a lot of unique values. This marital status is a good one. It's a good column because there's have a good distribution of values and we have 0 unique values. Gender is good, children is good, and we can see the distribution. So it's important to look, because if we have problems in our data, we could see the problem. For example, if we have colors and we can, in this case, for example, if we have red with uppercase or lowercase, we have different values and we are able to improve. So there's a lot of actions that we can apply to our data. Here we have transform, and it's important to look at every of these. For example, for text columns, we have a lot of options here. So be curious, look at the options, learn some of M code. It's also useful, but at the beginning, look at the options because we have a lot of possibilities for each kind of columns: text, numbers, dates, times. So it's important. So there's a lot of options. We need to solve several problems like null values, like duplicates, like quality because of the uppercase or lowercase, this kind of problems. We need to solve the problems about the format. For example, in Spain, we use depending on the format, we could use the dot or the semicolon to the decimal numbers. And if you are working using an international source of data and you receive a dot for separating the decimal numbers or a semicolon, you need to improve our data. So there's a lot of possibilities. So there's a good question. We could be here for 2 hours doing data cleansing. I love data cleansing. I love looking at the data and realizing the problem, realizing the distribution of the data, looking at the patterns, looking at the anomalies. So for me, it's really interesting. Okay, let's see the second one. How does Power Query handle duplicate records during the data merging? This is really a good question. For example, if we have the first table and we merge with the second table, the rows that we will obtain will depend on the quality of the data. That means if I have the table A, for example, and try to merge to the table B, if table B has duplicates, that means that the table 1, the table A, as a result, will have duplicated value. So my recommendation here is to clean as much as possible both extreme of the combination. If we are happening to, I mean, append queries, merge queries, combine files in each case, clean as much as possible before doing the combination, before merging. Because if you clean your B table, you can rid of the duplicates rows for the B table, and the combination will be okay. If this is not possible because of the real world is the real world. If it is not possible, so do the combination and then clean the duplicates. And the third question, how can we optimize the query performance when dealing with a complex transformation? This is really good question. My answer here will be the following. I recommend you to use this tool. We have a tool in Power Query. It's a diagnostic tool, and this is really good. For example, if we have the approach of doing all the clean syntax for the column A, and then all the tags for the column B, and then all the tags for the column C, this will be less optimal than combine the action. For example, if we need to rename columns, if we rename columns for 3 columns, will be faster than rename the first column, do something, rename the second column, do something, and rename the third column. And you can realize that this is true because if you start diagnostic and run for example, if you start diagnostic, go home and, for example, select products and refresh the preview for this query, and then go to the tools and stop diagnostic, we will obtain, depending on the where is my diagnostic? Okay, here. I have just one because my my settings is the following. I will show you. Here we have diagnostic. We have 4 options here, okay? And I have selected just one, aggregated, but we have 4 options for query diagnostic. And here I have aggregate, and here I have all these steps for this query, and all the time that it's necessary, the duration and exclusive duration. Sorry, I will view all the time that it's necessary to accomplish each of these steps. It's interesting that if we look at the data, filter as soon as possible, 4 columns, 4 rows, rid of all of the information that we do not need, clean the columns, improve the columns. This is really, really useful for our query duration. I recommend to use the tool because it's not sexy, it's not pretty, but it is really useful. Okay, so if we have another chance for being here in your meetup, I could show different scenarios when I realize that I have a problem, just because I start diagnostic and compare, because here the diagnostic, it's a query. So I have a lot of projects where the solution, so the result of the diagnostic is the information that I use in my report. So I could realize which is the point in my query that needs more time, or which is the point that it's repeated more than once. And there's a lot of insights that you can obtain using the diagnostic tool. It's the profiling, and using diagnostic tool, it's really important. And for sure, we need to talk to the business user. We need to be open-minded. We need to have a lot of soft skills for communication, for negotiation, because the person that needs the report, it's the person that knows the business. So it's important to have the very fluent communication between the two. And the third question, how can we optimize the question? Yeah, the third, and the other question, yes, this is a really, really good question. Between the difference between duplicate and reference. Yes. Yes, this is okay. I will select the other start. Okay. If you for example, here I have some steps applied to product. Think about it. For example, what about this query is just about the city? The information is from the city of Madrid. I live in Madrid, in Spain. So all these transformation, the transformations are applied to the information from Madrid. And tomorrow, the information from Barcelona will come to me. And I need to do the same. But the difference is that information from Madrid, for example, I will have the source in my laptop, and from Barcelona will be in the VPN in another place, or SharePoint, or whatever. So the source will be different. But as soon as I have the source connected to my Power Query, the rest of the steps are the same. In this case, it's very comfortable to duplicate the query because all the steps are the same, and just to improve here the source parameters, the source properties, for joining, of course, the correct way to the data. This is the scenarios for duplicate queries. And for reference, there's a lot of cases. For example, if we need, in this case, that we select, for example, here, this one. For example, think about, what about we have just this information? We have no the catalog one. We have just this table, and we need to improve our fact table. We need to extract these both columns, product and country, but we need to maintain the fact table because we need all the rows for the fact table. We need to have all the dates and all the quantities. The idea is to reference, for example, from this one, I will, for example, if I reference, okay, I will copy by first. Okay. I will duplicate by first and remove, delete all the steps. Okay, I have source and types, for example. Okay, I have this information. This is all that I need because all the, think about the Excel file. In the Excel file, you have a lot of columns all together, all the information about all the entities all together. There's a very common. So in this case, I could reference and then rid of the columns that will not related to the catalog, for example, date and quantity, then remove, I need select two, then remove duplicates, and then add the index column. Okay, so from the sales table, I have obtained the second one. If you have an Excel file with a lot of columns, it's very good to reference once and again for selecting just the columns that will be contained in one entity. For example, you have very wide table in your Excel file, and you could select the attributes for product entity and attributes for customer entity. So it's good for reference twice, once for product and one for customer.
And a last question from Christian Angel.
Sí. Yes. I see. How important is to know M language? Yes, it's a really good question. When do you recommend a beginner to start trying to understand it? you know, there's a this question. It's really interesting. Here we have a lot of options. Okay, we have a lot of options, but these options are just 1/3 of all the options we have in Power Query. For example, if we okay, if we for example, if I group group by, if I group by, for example, children, here we have several operations, okay, but we have not first, not last, you know, and these options are included in M language. You know, so if you just need to sum or min, max, count, it's okay. But just in the moment that you need to obtain the first or the last value, this Windows, this option is not enough. So, for example, I will set minimum of incomes. I will say first minimum by first. Okay, I know that the information is not correct because I look at minimum and then I need to change and say, okay, not minimum, but first. And as you can see, there's a lot of options related to the list object in M code. And here we have first, and probably the answer will be the same. Well, it's not the same. Okay, now we can see. So if you are able to learn just a few of M code, it could help a lot. Another example, if we have a data, for example, I think that here, if we have a date here at columns, for example, we have a lot of options here. Okay, we have a lot of options. But what about week? We have a week of year, week of month, start of week, end of week. And also we have a day of week and name of day. But there is a function in M code that allows me to know if this date is from this week, from the current week, or this date is for the last 2 weeks or the next 2 weeks. So there's a lot of business problems that could be solved if we learn just a few M query. I want to show you just one tip because it's really interesting. If we create a new query from the scratch, a new query, new source, blank query, okay? New source, blank query, and then equal shared. I will, okay, I will try. It's okay. I need to, just this, equal and sharp and shared. Nothing more. Here we have all the M language, So this query could be like a help for us. And this just we need to convert into a table. Okay. Okay, convert into a table. And now we could, for example, filter, because this is a query. And we can filter, for example, for a week. And we can say, okay, I want to look at the week. Okay. And now I have all of the functions for previous week, previous end weeks, current weeks, next week, whatever. And you can filter using text or date or data time or week or whatever list or whatever that you need. Just do not forget about disable this help query.
Okay. Thank you very much, Anna, for your time, for sharing your experience, knowledge with us. I would like also to thank everybody who were very active, who in the chat, who attended this session, and a lot of comments. Christian also says that it was very good to meet you in person at SQL Bytes event. So also thank you to for those people who have also shared their knowledge in the chat. So now I would like to inform that our session has ended. So our next session is in May 16th with Olga Svidenko. We will be talking about our, Amazon Web Services. And then, by the way, I have shared the link for Orlando Power BI Fabric group. So I kindly ask you to subscribe, to visit. So that's all from our side. Thank you very much once again. See you in next event. Okay.
Thank you very much to you. Thanks for inviting me. Thank you for all the people that join us. It was my pleasure.